Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I've got an absolute weapon as a guest today. We're going to go deep, we're going to go strategic, and we're going to flow from business to personal stuff today. I've got Adam McCaughey. Hopefully, I said that right just then. We're going through, guys, his story. He used to be a chef and a personal trainer for billionaires on super yachts. Can't wait to get into that story alone. That's going to be epic. Started coaching at the age of 21, hit 34K in his second month. Now working with the biggest entrepreneurs in the online space, sells multiple core offers and has closed over $4 million in phone sales. And honestly, guys, we've been speaking for about 15 minutes before this podcast, and he's already unloaded so many nuggets for me as a coach who's in the coaching space. So any coaches, listen up to this one, take notes. This is going to be amazing. Brother, thank you for joining me today.
Man, thank you for having me.
Let's go straight to your story because there's not to rush the story, but you've got so much value to add. Like, again, we've been speaking for about 15 minutes already. Man, let's hear your story. We might go into a little bit, and then I want to hear what you do so well, what you love, what your passion is, what your purpose is. So yeah, man, let's hear your story, brother. How did you get to who you are?
Amazing. So for me, really funny story actually. So when I was going to school, I got expelled from school. So
Really?
from two schools actually. Yeah, I got suspended 3 times from one school and then expelled at another school. And like I was just getting like around the wrong crowds, the wrong environment, all this type of stuff. And then at the age of 15, I had no purpose at all. I had no job, no purpose. I was about 100 kilos as well. So I was like in a really bad shape in my life. Probably one of my worst times actually. And for me, like it wasn't until my uncle suggested if I was going to do chefing. And I was thinking to myself, I really don't want to be a chef, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. So I was working in this really like kind of rubbish kitchen in a way. It wasn't really like good food. It was like in the West somewhere. And I was just cooking frozen food every single day. And I was absolutely hating it because for me, like a value that I wanted to have was health. And I wasn't doing that for people who actually wasn't giving them value by like providing such bad food. It wasn't until my 16th birthday party, my dad said to me, son, I've got an amazing gift for you because I know you like chefing. I want to take you for dinner. And I said, amazing, cool. Where are we going to go? And he's like, we're going to go to a restaurant called Rockpool. And I said, okay, cool. I had no idea what Rockpool was at the time. It soon, obviously, I realized it was the best restaurant in Australia at the time, three-headed, absolutely amazing. You know, the food, you spend $500 there easily for yourself. Like
Wow.
it's insane. 14 courses, it blows your mind. So I went there and then like we were just having dinner and I said, like, as soon as I walked in, the level of detail, the value, the ambience, the people, the connection, everything about the place, it blew my mind to the point where I said to the waitress, I really want to speak to the chef because I would love to work here. I was an apprentice. First year, only been cooking for 6 months. Like, absolutely just took the shot. You know, I had no idea what was going to happen. The chef came to me and he said, look, to be honest with you, if you're wanting to do this as a first year apprentice chef, you can, and you can start Monday. Blew my mind.
Wow.
Like that was my first real moment where I believed like if I say something, I can actually just get my own way because I didn't let limiting beliefs stop
Yeah.
me. Most people would think, oh, it's not gonna happen. You know, you're working in this rubbish place at the moment. You can't think like that. Like stay small. Like all these little things that will come through your mind. I took action. I worked there, and I worked there for about probably about a year and a half, and really interesting time because for me personally, in that moment, I was 16. I was working at the best restaurant in Australia, if the fourth in the world at the time, actually.
Yeah.
And man, I was getting destroyed. I was getting like lettuces thrown at me. My second day, a knife literally went through my hand.
Wow.
I went straight to hospital. Like it was insane. The pressure, the stress, the need for perfection was insane because if you could understand, like in those type of restaurants, they've got such a high level of standards and
Yeah.
they want to keep their three hats. So every single thing that goes out is always has to be perfect because if it isn't perfect, it could be like a critic, it could be like a reviewer. And if
Yeah.
they lose a hat and it's your fault, man, it's the worst shame in the world. So
Yeah.
you're always striving for the best. And then it was really cool. I was networking with some really cool people there, and I started, understanding more about restaurants. And then I had this vision, and I really wanted to work at this restaurant called Noma, restaurant in Denmark, voted the number one restaurant in the world, $1,000 a head, absolutely insane, the best. And that was my first real realization. If you visualize something enough, it's going to happen. I visualized literally every single day of working at this restaurant called Noma. Had no fucking idea how I was going to do it. I just had a goal in mind of working there. And then I met some really cool people at the restaurant. I got some stages, which is basically working at a place for free. That's how it works. I worked at this restaurant in Melbourne called Attica at the time. Really amazing restaurant, best in Australia at the moment. Insane, like honestly, the best restaurant. And when I was there, I met someone, and then he said, "I'm actually going to Denmark, Copenhagen, to work at this restaurant." I was like, "That's really cool. What's the restaurant?" Noma. Oh fuck, wow, amazing. So I was 18 at the time, and then when he was over there, he said to me, "We have a position available. You're not going to get paid, obviously. It's going to be for 6 months. It's going to be unpaid work. Do you want it?" I said, "Of course I want it." So when I came back from Melbourne, I was working at Noma. Blew my mind. So in a space of like 2 years, the amount of accomplishments I've already accomplished was insane. So my resume was like really becoming amazing in chefing. I started doing personal training. I think that's how we've connected before as well.
Yeah.
So I started combining those two things together. I went out with having an ability to have to be like a chef and a personal trainer, and I started to actually PT and like actually do chefing for wealthy families because they would say, "Oh wow, Adam's worked at like the four best restaurants in the world." So I started marketing myself as a private chef and personal trainer.
Yeah.
In the matter of 6 months, I was working for the 11th richest families in Australia. So like really big families worth, $300 million. Like it's the amount of money these people had was insane. And it was to the point where I was working for 11 different families. I was making probably about 5 to 6K a week at the time as a chef and a personal trainer, which is unheard of, right? Like chefs get 60K a year.
Yeah.
When I was 18, 19, the moment that changed my life is I received a phone call from a billionaire.
Mm.
Billionaire's like not the billionaire itself, but the billionaire's captain. So he was actually working, like the captain was working for the billionaire. They saw my ad or something or on a Facebook group, whatever it was. They called me and they said, "Do you want to work for us?" And I said, "Okay, cool. What's the family? I've already got 11 clients. Like, how's this going to kind of, play out?" They said, "Look, it's a really wealthy family. I can't say too much. It's a family of, XYZ." And I was like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." I looked them up, worth $5 billion. They've got an island
Wow.
in Fiji, like insane. So I just made it happen. Like I didn't think to myself, I've got 11 clients because I found a chef. He worked for those 11 clients and I kept, that was like a business I kind of started growing straight away. And for me, in my mind, that was passive income because I was keeping the relationships. He was doing the cooking. I was getting a cut, which was insane.
Epic.
They found me. I went to Brisbane. I blew their mind in cooking. Honestly, like it was the most nerve-wracking experience. They gave me their credit card. They said, "You can spend as much as you like, just blow us all away," which is
Wow.
really strange,
Yeah.
like it's different. And then they said, "You want the job? Amazing. We're going to Fiji next week." I said, "What do you mean we're going to Fiji next week?" "We're going to Fiji next week." "Okay, cool." So then I literally lived in Fiji for 8 months with them on a super yacht, traveling all around Fiji, cooking for this family. And the experience in that alone, the amount of values that taught me as a person, as like a business owner now, like the need for success, the need for like it just opens your perspective. You cannot be a lion hanging around sheep. You need to understand there's more out there. And that just blew my mind because people have all these people, like these billionaires, they have super yachts, they have, a team of 60 crew, they're paying, literally like $100,000 a week just on salary. It's mind blowing.
Mm.
So that really changed my life. And then around that period, I started to invest a lot in people like Tony Robbins, people, I did all these courses, all these events. And the missing piece for me was I I had the drive, I just had the wrong vehicle. Even though I was
Mm.
making really good money, I had no freedom. And freedom has always been a high value for me in myself, in my business, in everything that I'm doing today. So even though I had, a great network, great business and everything, I realized I needed freedom. My skill set that I've always had, because I really audited the last, 4 or 5 years for me, was sales. And that's how I kind of transitioned into selling. Then I started doing high ticket closing. And then, 6 years today, here we are.
Wow. What a story, man. What a story. Very,
Thank
very
you.
unique. I know everyone's got a unique story, but that's amazing, man. I want to go into the business, into the coaching stuff, into the purpose stuff. Maybe some of your biggest lessons from that period of your life, the chefing period slash
Mm,
yacht period slash personal trainer period. What were some of the lessons being around people of such high caliber, from being the best in the world or
mm,
top best of the world in the chefing world to being in proximity working with a billionaire? That's
mm,
amazing, man. What were some of the big lessons that really shifted for you and yeah, made an
mm,
impact on you?
mm. I think the one of the biggest one was humility and humbleness.
Hmm.
Like even someone like the owner, like the guy that was worth all the money, who's worth like $5 billion. Even at someone at that highness of a stature, there was no "I'm better than you." There was no ego. He would still come to us.
Beautiful.
I'm just his chef and PT. He would just come ask for me for advice, whether it's training, cooking, or maybe even something outside on the rare occasion. See, in my mind, growing up in a family, like we never had money, everything was too expensive. You know, you would think these people are evil or they're controlling the world, all these little limiting beliefs that you would think or presuppose of these people. But that just blew everything out of the park for me, because I'm thinking, and if someone can do that and ask questions to me, it blew my mind. So that was what really the first thing. The second thing is everything that's stopping you from actually achieving your goals is all BS, because
Mm.
I kept I never told myself stories of why I can't have what I want, you know. And I think with working on super yachts and doing what I'm doing now and doing what I was doing before, like at an early age, like working the best restaurant in the world, I thought everything was possible. You know, I think as children, as babies, you know, as we grow up, we kind of think the world's such a beautiful place and we can have to be whatever we want. And we kind of get conditioned by life that we can't have what we want. You know,
Mm.
everything's limiting. It's like conditioning, schooling system, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we don't have what we want and we're complaining. We're at the effect of life and we don't actually achieve what we want to achieve.
Mm.
So I think for me, through my whole working career until today, I go and get it. You know, I think that's the
Mm.
biggest thing. And
Mm.
working for those families, it really showed me that that's possible, you know,
That's a
without having an ego in myself as well.
Such a beautiful lesson, man. And
Thanks,
you know,
bro.
I wasn't expecting that lesson, but it's so true. And you can see it in yourself, man.
Mm,
Like I was saying at the start before we jumped on this podcast, you're just offering me help. You're like, hey man, I'm doing this. This is working.
mm,
Give this a shot. Like you're so giving where I
mm,
think a lot of people, when they pitch a success, it's the Mr. Burns of The Simpsons. It's
mm.
the evil guy on the hill who's just
Yeah,
full of
yeah, yeah.
ego and full of insecurities, where if you do it the right way, it's you can be such a genuine, giving, caring, humble person. So
Mm,
what a beautiful lesson, man. I guess let's go into, I guess, what it is that you do now. Share with us, what do you do for people? What do you do for businesses? What's your passion?
mm,
What's your purpose? I know
mm,
you're passionate about purpose. So what is it that you do and what lights you up?
mm. So for me at the moment, like I love doing done for you sales, like a sales agency. I've got many clients. So actually helping businesses scale through a full done for you system, automation, sales, marketing, the whole thing with a profitable business to scale to that next level. That's the best thing. You know, just over delivering on that whole service. So if you find a business that, you know, they're making 10K per month, taking them to 100K per month with your service, it's incredible. Everything from, you know, lead to sale, automation to recruitment, the whole thing. That's what I love focusing on. My genius, my love, and what I have for this industry is selling. I love sales. So I
Mm.
do a lot of coaching as well, a lot of coaching with a lot of people as well at the moment, which is very fun. But my backbone, what I really love doing, I've been doing for a long time now, is just that whole system for businesses to help scale.
Epic.
Yeah.
For people, man, I'm obviously in the coaching space and I've got a lot of coaches that follow me. What is it that you find are the biggest, I guess, pain points or biggest problems that people get into when it comes to scaling a business? And I guess speaking from experience as well, I even caught up with a friend of mine last week,
Mm,
and he's someone and who's really good at what he does. He's very good at, I guess, the coaching aspect. I think he helps people find their purpose or overcome mental limitations, etc. But it's like the business, he like struggling, he was like begging people to jump onto calls essentially. He was DMing
mm,
people like no tomorrow, having people show up, but they're the wrong people, having people not show up. And it's like I find a lot of people, and I'm very guilty of myself, we were
mm,
speaking about this before, is that we get so caught up on the product, the service of what we love, which is awesome. But if no one knows about it or the right people don't know about it and you're not getting on phone calls with people to sell them, then your business is going to die on your lips. So
mm,
what is it that, what are the main sort of pitfalls that coaches or businesses get into when it comes to scaling a business?
mm. I think one of the biggest thing is the knowledge. I think that's like the biggest thing, because at the moment online, it's honestly analysis paralysis. There's so many things online. There's so much information. There's so many courses. You have people selling courses on something that is completely irrelevant. Like people don't stick to something. They don't stay focused. You know, they would see an ad for an amazing LinkedIn course. They would do that course, and all of a sudden it's not going to work. Oh my God, it's the next thing. It's the email marketing I'm not doing. It's the Instagram ads. It's the Facebook ads. TikTok, you know, ChatGPT, it's all AI, it's all happening when really they're not actually executing anything. They're not staying focused. That's the first thing. The second thing, and like you said as well, they may have the niche may not be there 100%. So they're not actually focusing on the right niche. Or the offer is not actually good. It's not a scalable offer. That's really important as well. The offer is not scalable at all. And the niche isn't specific. It's not an actual person they're solving. Because, for example, most people that do this type of business, whether it's coaching, consulting, agencies, they may have a niche, but they're not actually solving the problem. They're doing what they love, and it's not actually what the person needs. It's like that thing a mentor told me once, give them what they want, sell them what they need, or the other way around, sorry. And I think it's important. Like marketing and a client and fulfillment is different. I think with the marketing, you got to really understand where they're at and the current problems they have, and let your process from lead to sale warm them up with you. And then you take that call and you basically disclose them into your business.
Mm. What did you find, obviously, to get to where you are now? You would have gone through some mistakes. You would have tried pretty much maybe all the things you just said didn't work, try something else, didn't work, try something else. What was like the shift for you? What really shifted from you from was it just the market? Was it a combination of everything? Like you said, knowledge, you said offer, you said the delivery, you said the ads, all of that stuff. What was the big shift for you that you really saw that big growth with your business?
To be honest, I think it's honestly self-belief. I think
Okay.
self-belief changed everything for me, really. I think like the type of clients I'm approaching now and I'm working with, I like it's believing that I can actually do it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think you gotta like self-belief, and if you have self-belief, that's gonna, I think, transcend into everything. Because if you're on a sales call with a person, or even for example, if you're DM setting them and they say something to you, if you have a solid value, if you think you're a valuable person, you have self-belief, you're not going to negotiate with them. If they say they're not interested, you're just going to be, oh, wow, that's, reaffirming my belief. I'm not having no self-belief. Like you just have so much value that they need to work with you. They're going to benefit from you, not the other way around. And I think even on sales calls as well, if you really believe in what you're doing, I think there's no issue. So I think self-belief at another level for me, it really changed everything for me. And
Yeah.
then focus. Like stop buying courses. That's what I would, as hypocritical as that is, because that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. People just buy so many courses, man. They buy like so many different things. They have the amount of free ebooks, people have downloaded. I'm guilty of this as well. I never actually touched the ebook, or like all the different strategies, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. There's too many things, and no one executes on the right things.
If you were to give people three things to
Mm,
just focus on and execute to purely get
mm,
leads and book calls, what would you give them? What would be your top three go-tos?
mm. The first thing I would say is to focus on, this is okay. The prerequisite of that, if they've got a dialed down niche, they know who they're selling to,
Yeah.
they know what they're selling. That's the most important part. So past that, if they've got an audience, they should have a really powerful brand. That's the biggest thing that I would work on before anything. Like a personal brand, if they're selling like something like a coaching offer, personal brand, and they have a niche dialed in and an offer, and then I would just focus on doing ads. Like that's like I just think ads work really well. I think it's, a lot of people are, a lot of competition, a lot of other, programs and courses would always say organics the right way or emails the right way, but they're using that pain point of someone using ads in the past and didn't work for them.
Yeah.
So they're actually using that same. It's everyone's just using different pain points and hooks to get people in their own programs. But I think paid ads is the best way to do it. I really do. Because
Why
it
does it
tests.
work? Oh,
Hmm.
you go first.
There you go, bro, go.
I was going to say why I think I'm a perfect example of a client
Hmm.
for you or someone that you can speak directly to. I always default back to organic because of the risk. What if it doesn't work,
Hmm.
right? So what is it that you would say to even me or to the people that are listening
Hmm.
to this? Because I literally, the guy I caught up with last week is in the same boat. He's like, look, I'm like, I asked him, how are you getting leads? How's your sales? Like, I'm just DMing people, talking to people that follow me or comment on my stuff.
Hmm.
I'll send them a message or something like that. I guess what's not the secret, but how can you make the ads
Hmm.
successful? What makes them, because I've done it before. I've run ads, turned to shit, turned them off. And I went back to organic, went to referrals, went to joint
Hmm.
ventures, went to email marketing, and making my way back into ads through obviously the course I was talking about before.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what would you say to people to give them, I guess, the confidence or the bit more clarity on how to run ads successfully? Because I truly believe at some point,
Hmm.
if you don't run ads, you can't scale a business.
Correct.
There's
Yeah.
only so many fucking DMs you can send out in a day, right? So ads is scale. And I'm certainly not there yet myself.
Hmm.
So what would you say to someone to give them the confidence or the clarity to actually bite the bullet, put some money into some ads, start running ads to actually get to the point where they
Hmm.
can scale their business?
I think before like that, it's like really coming clear with your avatar, like knowing, the exact problems of your avatar. How do they show up for them? What are they experiencing? Why would they work with you? What are they coming to terms with? Because if you don't know the language of your avatar, you're not going to get them. Like, for example, if you're doing relationship coaching and you've got a really great relationship coaching niche, if you just say to someone, I'm going to help you with your masculinity in a relationship, it's not going to be as effective as a hook on an ad. But
Yeah.
if you say something more along the lines of, like you're sick of fighting with your partner because of XYZ, or something that shows up for them, like it's a
Yeah.
hook. And that comes back down to the thing of we were saying before, is that with your offer, because you're giving what you want, it's not what they need. It's the same thing with ads as well. It's the same thing people fall into. They just think I've got the best ad and do it. Right.
Yeah.
I think it's having the humility to ask for professional advice as well and ask people around them, even though you think it's the best, because that's what I did a lot. I just always asked for advice and had a mentor and a model, someone that I would model for all this type of stuff that really worked with me. So I think have the right niche and then break your ad down into like copy, creative, and obviously the audience as well.
Yeah.
And then have a really great CTA, whether it's going from a lead form or DM messages or whatever it looks like for yourself. But if it's a DM message, have a really powerful script, 4 or 5 steps, personal, get them from, where they are, just saying yes or whatever they want to say to come through. Like coaching, for example, to take them all the way through to get their numbers and then plug them into a system where they start building trust with you. That's the only way to do it with DM, I just think. And then they can get assets, whether it's like a case study of VSL, funnel, something, so they can start building more trust with you. If it's through lead form, same thing. They get emails, they get called, booked in, and that process is dialed in.
Yeah.
So the process all the way from lead, all the way through to like basically sale to onboarding, it's like incrementally, like every metric is measured. The issue is with business today, people would say, my coaching business isn't working. Okay, great. How many messages have you sent? I don't know. A few.
Yeah.
Nothing is tracked because they're not treating it like a business. They're treating it like a hobby. There are no metrics that tracked, whether it's booking calls, messages sent, and what actually is happening. Like when I was working for accounts like 4 to 5 years ago, the salespeople would always say, the leads are shit, the lead quality is bad. But is it actually bad? Like what actually is going on? Like where's the metric of you to actually understand the information? You have successful gyms, right? Like you need to know everything about the gyms to know if it's successful or not. So
Absolutely.
it's having the humility to ask for advice. I think that's the biggest thing.
What was going through in terms of filtering? This is quite a niche question. In terms of it was my friend asked me this last week, and I didn't really know how to answer that well. So he said, like, I'm having a lot of people show up for calls. I'm getting them booked in. A lot of them aren't showing up, and the ones that show up, they haven't got the budget. They're not the right fit, etc. I guess, would you say anything to someone about filtering their leads, or I guess qualifying those leads? What's some tips that you would say to someone to help them qualify their leads a little bit more?
Yeah, cool. So people say, I think the best way to fix show up rate in this type of business, like the reason people don't show up because it's not important to them.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth. In this industry, if you had a call with Tony Robbins or Jordan Belfort or someone, you're going to show up. Of course, you're going to show up because it's important to you. So instead of saying, oh, the leads aren't showing up, the quality is shit, like why aren't they showing up? How can I add more value? How can I make it more important to the leads so they actually show up? That always comes back to self-responsibility, like the cause and effect NLP. Like you want to be the cause, not the effect.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a really powerful thing. When it comes to filtering out, I mean, money's never something that holds people back. So I usually don't ask money questions on any qualifying call unless depending on the market, because if it's important to them, they'll find the money. If you have financing options available or any other options available. I think the reason for the first call, whether it's an appointment setting call, discovery call, is to build trust, responsiveness, rapport with the person, and basically paint the picture of what it looks like working with you, and make sure they're curious to jump on the second call. If you have the first call with them, tell them about everything that you do, and then they're not jumping on the second call because they kind of presuppose what the second call's about as well. So it's a fine line. That's why that process is really important, but you should measure all the metrics. So when the leads come in, how many showing up, who's not showing up, like that, all the metrics from appointment setting call to sales call, it's so important to measure. And then obviously the coaching measurements as well, and all those type of things on the back end. But it's important to know that, I reckon.
100%, man. I'd like to know your thoughts for someone who's in the industry. You're working with some awesome clients, you're getting some epic results, and you're building a really epic business right now. Where do you see the coaching industry going? Like I'm from the Gold Coast, man. Every fucking person is a coach. Everyone's a coach. There's a couple of big NLP names on the Gold Coast. I know you're quite good friends with a couple of them from what I've seen on your Instagram. And it's so easy to become a coach, especially NLP. You go do an NLP course, you're a coach. You're a life coach these days. So I guess where do you sort of see the coaching industry heading? I've heard like I can't remember the figures, but it was in the billions, or if not tens
Yeah,
of
three
billions
hundred
of
and forty
dollars.
billion dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. So, of the education
Mm.
industry, the online education industry or online coaching industry. So, yeah, I'd just like to know, I guess, big picture, where do you sort of see this industry going?
Great question. I think, as you know, your environment is everything. I think you and I were exposed to this all the time. We're just in these markets. But I think the mass market isn't in this market at all. I don't think they understand coaches, or I think just in our circles right now, everyone's a coach. I see it all the time. I go to the
That's
Gold
true.
Coast, everyone's a coach.
Yeah.
But I believe everyone that are going through these type of courses, learning how to be a coach in 60 days, 7 days, they're a qualified coach because of this, XYZ. I think that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, I've got my own feel about that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these coaches coming through, they don't know business. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to do personal branding. They don't know how to create an offer. They don't know niching. They don't know how to scale the business. So there's a bigger business in teaching these coaches on how to actually get results in their business as being a
Yeah.
coach. You know what I mean? So I think in that context, I really hope it's going to keep expanding, but I think there's some really big giants in the whole industry, whether it's, Forex, e-commerce, mindset, relationships already that's like proven all in the world. In America, obviously there's some really big ones in America, and in Australia, they've already set the bar high, like Google as an example, like
Yep.
that's already Google and Yahoo as an example. But I think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of the coaches are going to become very saturated, I believe, because if these big institutes, like I know some that are getting thousands of people come through, and then after like 30 days they're a coach. And I think the thing with strategies is because everyone teaches a specific strategy in these courses on how to get clients, and all of a sudden you've got a million coaches and a million Facebook groups doing a million posts organically to try and get DMs.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't become a pattern interrupt if everyone's doing the same pattern. So I think you need to, yeah, it's the interesting niche. I want to see as well. I'm very curious how the whole industry is going to go,
How
to
do
be
you
honest with
think,
you.
who will win, and what will they do to win?
People that have a business savvy,
Mm.
I think, like, definitely 100%. People will take risk. Like, people that would easily, like, grow and spend everything back on ads to build more of a brand. People
Mm.
that just aren't doing coaching. The issue is with coaches is they really love coaching. They fall in love with the whole coaching model,
Yeah.
but they lack everything else about business. Where yourself, Lewis, you come from a really powerful gym background and you've built successful businesses time and time again. So you understand that. So now you're bringing, like, obviously doing coaching with that together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But most people aren't like yourself or myself.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. It's come, obviously, the uniqueness of mine, and
Yeah,
obviously your story can
exactly.
yeah, compared to someone who's just done an NLP or a course and like, great,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
of
to change
course.
the world. How do I get leads? How do I talk to people? How do I
Yeah, that's
nurture leads?
right.
How do I follow them up? How do I sell on the phone?
Yeah.
Really
How do you
cool.
do client fulfillment? How do you scale fulfillment? How do you build a team? How do you do recruitment? Like, there's so many, like, for every solution, you're building more problems. The more you scale, the more problems you have. And
Yeah.
when you have solutions to those problems, you have even more problems. Like, it doesn't stop. Like, people sell the dream of coaching, make 10K a week or 5K a week or 20K a month and automation. This doesn't work like that, man. There's so much stuff you have to do to build that.
What problems are you currently solving?
Uh, Honestly, I think in startup, I think one of the hardest things is like, because there's no processes as much, you're creating everything yourself. So you have an idea, you create a process, you have to train someone, then it's recruitment, it's finding people, it's like working on different ads, it's like it's on a metric.
Yeah.
So I think because you're doing everything yourself, the biggest problem that I have, and I think people can relate to this as well, is letting go. I think if you
Mm, yeah.
like, because you want to do everything yourself and you know that you're the best person to do everything yourself, it's very hard to let go.
Yeah.
And then you get overwhelmed, and then you have trust issues, and then it's hard to train people.
Mm,
So I think actually letting go and not doing something and not being, going to call it like OCD, and actually like making sure everything's 100% perfect, that's sabotaging. I think
yeah.
that's what I do a lot, to be honest with you. I think most people do that as well.
Yeah. Any advice for anyone? I experienced that about 4 years ago when I decided I'm
Mm,
going to scale myself out of the gym, and I had to hire
mm,
managers, had to let go of the product, had to let go of it all. And I'm grateful to be at a point now where I only do an hour down there, but it was
amazing.
fucking hard for me. It was fucking hard. So
Why was it hard? Was it more systems, or was it more mental?
just more of a mental thing, like being
Yeah.
okay with them doing it,
Mm,
trusting that they will
yeah.
do a good job, trusting that they'll follow the system, trusting that
Yeah.
the customer experience will be to the level, because obviously the business owner generally will be more committed than the team. So Yeah, probably is more of a trust and more of a personal thing for me. But Kerwin, when I went down Kerwin's route, really helped me with that. So I'd
Yeah.
love to hear from you. I guess any advice for people that in that position, maybe they're doing what they're doing well, they're making some good revenue, they're making some sales, but it's time to bring people on, but they're scared to let go of the
Mm.
reins a little bit. What would you say to them?
Mm. I think, in business, I think it's hard to do jobs that you think you're not getting paid for. Like, for example, if you have an hour free and you can either have a sales call and make 10K, or you could do like a process or an SOP for a new person coming in your business. Most people choose a sale because it's
Yeah.
intermediate money. But I think the long-term effect of not doing that is you're not going to have the right systems to onboard people properly. So what I did wrong is I didn't onboard people properly.
Yeah.
So I had people coming through and I don't actually have the process to train them. I'm getting upset with them because they're not doing the right thing, but they actually know the right thing. They don't have the right metrics. Most importantly, they don't have someone to report to. So there's actually no one they can report to, right? So I think having the awareness now and the consciousness now, that's probably one of the most important things in your business, because everyone's a reflection of you, right? In business and teams, is having the team culture from the beginning. That's the most important thing. Having things like daily huddles, which is what we spoke about before.
Yeah.
And just to build that morale in a team that people love showing up, because the more people show up in your business, the more you show up in yourself, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Man,
So that is what I recommend for sure.
great value, guys. Great fucking value. I want to go all the way back to your story.
Mm.
When you first were that young boy, 16 years old, at the restaurant for the first time, and you just said, "Hey, can I have a job here?" Essentially, "Hey, can I work here?"
Mm.
Just that, I guess, lack of fear to take action. I want to really zero in on that.
Mm.
So many people really struggle with that, to fucking go live on Instagram, to post a video, to
Mm.
say, "Hey, I'm running a business," to ask someone for money, to just be seen. It's just the fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of whatever it may be. It might not have been with you from what you did, just starting, asking for a job at 16, saying yes to going on working on a yacht. Like, you just said yes a lot, which is really awesome. I'd like to know, I guess, a little bit, I guess, behind your ways of thinking, to maybe shed light and maybe help some other people who aren't necessarily at that level, where they're holding themselves back, they're lacking that risk tolerance or that ability to take the leap, essentially. I guess I'd love to know, man, what was it a natural thing for you? Was it something you had to work on, or would you want to just lean into that and give some advice for people around this?
Mm. Amazing question. That's awesome. I think, a really great analogy is like you become by doing. I think
Yeah.
people say, how do you get really great at sales? Because I do sales calls, right? People say, how do you get really great at doing this? Because I do that.
Yeah.
Like you actually become by doing. And I think as conditioning happens, like people now in coaching business or agencies or whatever it may be, they've got so much fear because people always fear what could go wrong all the time. This could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. But most people don't actually think what could go right in any business, in anything. And what's the absolute worst thing that will happen? And for me personally, like when I was 20, 19, 20, like I took a lot of debt out, did a lot of personal development, had a lot of things happening, and I lost everything, brother. Honestly, if you look at my Instagram, like I was living in my car, for a fair bit actually. Like I was in a lot of debt. I was living in my car. I had all my stuff in my car, and that was
Oh,
like the lowest time in my life. I remember a specific time where when I was in that moment, I went to the petrol station because I really wanted to work out. So I tried to find like a cup. There was no cup in my car. I got this pre-workout in my car. There was no cup. So I was like, okay, cool. So in the petrol station, I grabbed the cup and the guy said, "Look, you need to pay for this." I said, "Okay, cool. How much is it?" $2. Okay, cool. Come back to the counter. I pay it. My card declines. Another card. My card declines. Looked in my account. Literally nothing in my account. Nothing. Not 1 cent. So I've been in that time. I've been in the lowest, dude. So being in my car, having nothing in my account, and this is actually funny because I remember like following people like maybe like yourself a long time ago as well. So I was actually seeing people like yourself and all these other coaches and like everything, bro. Like, and I was getting so much like I was feeling so terribly myself because I really wanted that, but I didn't have it. So I was just in this really big downward spiral. I wasn't working. I wasn't moving my body. I was in my car, and then for me, I went back in my car after that moment. I looked in the mirror and I was like crying and I started screaming. Like I was really unhappy with myself that time. I played this song by Xavier Rudd. You may know it. It's called Spirit Bird. And I was in Manly Beach at the time. I just ran, dude. I ran in the Manly Beach so much to try and move my body. Physiology. I went to Tony Robbins events, change your body, change your life, all that type of stuff. Came back in the car, and that was my breaking moment. And then I was able to build my like my chef business, start working high ticket closing, and that was my defining moment. So
Wow.
having that in my mind, there's two things why I'm sharing this with you. In decisions today, I always think to myself, even if like if you want to use Facebook Live as an example, if I did a Facebook Live, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because I guarantee nothing would happen like that.
Yeah.
What is the absolute worst thing that can happen? Like nothing will go to that circumstance of what happened before. And the second thing is it gives me hunger. Like because I've got so much drive now. It's sickening how much drive I have because I don't want to ever go back to that place ever again. You know, so I take every opportunity. I'd work with everyone that I can. I'd always do 10% more than anyone else around me because I know for a fact that situation, you know, literally I was in the car and then going to my dad's house and I had no idea how much debt I was in because I was completely oblivious to it. I don't know if you've been in debt before, but like when I was in debt, I just kept pushing it away. It's all good. I'll get through it. Came all the way up. My dad said, "How much debt are you in?" I said, "I have no idea." He looked through all my emails with me. He had this big whiteboard, had it in red, all these like 10K, 5K, 4K. And I was like, oh my God, it's like $62,000. Like how my mind could even fathom how much I'm gonna like how the fuck am I gonna pay that off, you know? So for me today, making decisions, I just know for a fact if you know if something goes wrong, I will never go back to that place again. And it gives me hunger. See, the thing is, most people haven't gone to a place like that before. And that's the truth. So if Facebook Live, you know, they're scared of doing that, but they haven't gone through much pain in themselves before. So that's the scariest thing for them doing a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
What are people going to think of me? Judgment. You know, what are my parents going to think if I do this coaching business? Putting your face out there, what's really going to happen? You know what I mean? So all the other stuff to me doesn't even bother me anymore, right? So I think that's the biggest lesson I could give people. And also having a vision is the most important thing. If you live on such a high frequency in your life and you know exactly where you're going to go, all that other stuff below in your frequency doesn't affect you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even hit you like hard at all. So you need to know what's holding you back, but also what's driving you forward as well.
Guys, rewind the last 2 minutes and listen to that again, man. You're absolutely spot on. It's the hunger to fucking do the work. It's because, like, people are going to judge you. Like, people are going to say shit things about you, and that's a projection of their shit. But it's like, you want to go to the gym, it's going to hurt sometimes. You want to be in a beautiful relationship, you're going to have open conversations. You're going to get triggered. But if you're not willing to pay the bill or pay the price, then just don't be upset that you don't have what it is that you don't have if you haven't for the work that you haven't put in. So, beautiful answer, man. I know I'm very conscious of time, so we'll finish on this one, man. Purpose is something that you're quite passionate about. I know you talk about it quite frequently. I'd love to know for you, I guess, why people struggle to find their purpose, what you would give to people to help them get clear on their calling, their purpose, their direction, their vision, maybe what you just mentioned then. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think for me, purpose, the reason I'm so passionate about it now is because I haven't had it in the past before. And I literally know the power of having a purpose because I think people need a reason to wake up in the morning. That's the truth. You know, people need to be driving towards something that's important to them. Now, you can't get a purpose if you don't know what you're doing, I think. So people have no experience in coaching, consulting, haven't had any really experience in jobs or anything. They want to make a name online, but then they feel stuck because they don't have a purpose, but they don't want to try anything. So how they know what they like? I think, you know, anyone that is wanting to find a purpose, the best thing to do is go do lots of random things, you know, sales, marketing, you know, whatever it is, branding, like just do all these random jobs online, do all these things that you want to test yourself, start going to networking events, meeting people. Like what really blew my mind is when I was in Fiji, like I literally had no money to my name. I was with Tony Robbins and he's the whole thing with Life Wealth Mastery at the time, which is really cool. And meeting these type of people, I thought I was doing well. I thought I was having like a private chef business. I was doing sales, and people that were speaking to me, they're like, I made 100K on admins on FBA last week. And I was like, what? Like, unfathomable, you know? And then this other person had a resort. This other person was a really big coach and consultant. And how would I know that's possible if I just stayed in my house thinking, what is my purpose? You know, so you won't find your purpose if you're not going out there actively and trying to meet people and understand what your purpose is. And don't put so much weight on it. People put so much weight on their purpose. You know, I think people put so much weight and negativity and emphasis on they can't find their purpose or they don't know what direction to go in. I think you just got to get out there and just do lots of random stuff, have fun in the process. If you're not having fun in the process, what's the point of doing it? People take it so seriously with coaching. Like my partner always brings it up with me as well. She's like, just have fun, make it fun, do something. Like just you're doing really well. Like appreciate it. I don't think we give enough gratitude and appreciation to what we're actually doing in this world. If you just have more gratitude, say thank you more to yourself and people around you, but also align that with your purpose. That's the most important thing because you can probably imagine, with yourself as well, you've had businesses or things in the past and it's been the worst feeling for you. Maybe you felt sad in the past and you've had amazing success. Same with me as well, and I think if you focus more on your emotional side of things as well, mentality and have your purpose and be happy in yourself, relationship, and everyone around you, that's going to be the most important thing.
This has been a beautiful conversation, man. You've got a
Likewise.
level of humbleness. You actually mentioned that with your lesson in the first sort of chapter, one of those early chapters of your life. Authenticity and value and substance and depth, man. It's this has been really beautiful. Not that I wasn't expecting it, but it's been a beautiful conversation, man. For anyone that wants to connect with you, whether it's for business purposes, maybe share what it is that you do and what you can offer for people, if you've got an offer for people, or if people just want to connect with you and say this podcast has been fantastic, where can they find you? What's the best place for people to go to?
Yeah, cool. Instagram. So Adam McCaughey, I'm sure the name will be somewhere in this. Jump on Instagram, just ask me some questions. I'm more than happy to give anyone advice with selling or coaching, free advice. Very happy to do that as well. Help you guys scale, have more impact in the life, right? It's important.
Beautiful, man. One last lesson, man, or one last question. I like to be vulnerable at the end of my calls. What's something that you're working on right now that no one else gets to see?
Is it just business related?
Personal or business, whatever you want.
Hmm.
And while you think, the reason I ask it is people, they see the success, they see you're a vulnerable guy anyway, so you're pretty transparent during this podcast. But I just find a lot of people, they see the success, they see the highlights, they see the business, they see whatever it is, and they're like, fuck, they're not human. It's their gift, it's their whatever. Where it's like, I guarantee, just like me, you're dealing with shit. You got problems, your things you're figuring out. There's things that you're still working on. There's still things. You're a human being. So I just like to put a bit of humanity back into
Yeah,
the people
amazing,
that I
amazing,
talk about.
amazing. So last year it was my health. So being so driven in one area of life, I neglected my health really bad. And I was in hospital quite a few times, and it was just like I wasn't healthy. I wasn't like really active. Like I valued business more than health, which was crazy. This year, it's dealing with a relationship. I've got a beautiful fiance, Gabriella. It's trying to organize and balance my life so I can be with her, be present with her, and also be in the relationship and also do business. I think that's probably one of the hardest challenges I've ever dealt in my whole entire life because I've got two things that I love a lot. I obviously love my partner a lot more, like a million times more. But I think just trying to balance these together is one of the hardest things. So actually being present with someone, if you're with a partner, when you're with them, are you with them or are you thinking about business? Are you thinking about, the sale? Like actually, and that was crazy for me because sometimes I'll be with her, so I would speak to her for a whole hour and then all I'm thinking about is like something else. And
Yeah,
I wasn't showing up in that, and she could feel that. Women are very intuitive.
beautiful.
So it's kind of understanding the balance and it's understanding what's really important to you. And if you're focusing on, it's like growing a garden, right? If you're watering just one plant, everything else is going to die.
That's a
So
great
it's kind of
analogy.
watering everything. Yeah, of course.
Beautiful, bro. Man, thank you for your time. Thank you for your value, your wisdom. And brother, keep changing lives. Thank you so much.
Likewise, brother. Thank you so much, Lewis.